Just moved in my new house today. Moving was hard, but I got squared away. Bells started ringing and chains rattled loud. I knew I'd moved in a haunted house. Still I made up in my mind to stay. Nothing was gonna drive me away.
Hey, beautiful people, it's Monday. I'm home, thank God. It's hot over here still, but not up in the hundreds, so it's not that bad. Before we get going on the prop building, on the current project that we've been working on, or you saw me working on last week, wanted to cover something. Skeletons. This was in the last vlog. I bought these three last week at Costco. Well, Saturday, after I got done with work, we stopped by Costco over in the Seattle area, and guess what? Picked up three more. So that brings me up to a grand total of 6 skeletons for this year. Now, my wife was asking me, how many skeletons do we already have, and do you really need more skeletons? I said, I'm not sure. I think I have around 9 or 10. I'd like to have, around 20. I got my video walkthrough out of my haunt that I did last year and took a count. Between all the skeletons we had out, plus the 3 I butchered up for props, and which was the well with the skeleton rising up and out of it, the toxic skeleton, leering skeleton in the barrel, and the one in the Iron Maiden, we have a grand total of 14 skeletons. And that's before I bought these 6. So with these 6, we're up to 20 skeletons now. And Costco will probably have skeletons for another week to 2 weeks, the way they're selling here. So grand total so far, between those and these and what I have in the house, we're up to 20 skeletons. And I'm going to keep buying skeletons because you can never have enough skeletons. And I have some ideas for some props that needed skeletons, and I just haven't done them because I didn't want to get into my supply and ruin things. So now I'm basically buying skeletons strictly for doing props. Anyway, that part's taken care of. Let me get this camera put down. We're going to do more work on the foam panels over there. Get started with the carving and what have you on them. But I got to get these skeletons put away, get the tables, kind of into place and getting straightened up and get set up and ready to go. Hey, people, sitting down. It's always nice to sit down after you've been on your feet all day. Decided we're going to start with the carving. Get the carving started. We are going to start working on the grout lines. And why am I talking about myself in the third person? Getting into a habit of doing that a lot. Saying we or our when I mean I and me. But anyway, I'm starting off with my smaller pieces first, and then we're just going to work our way up. We're going to get started, so I'm not having to change the depth of my Dremel a lot. We're going to start out and go through cut all the grout lines first. Those are my deepest cuts. Now, if you're new to the channel, you're interested in foam carving, you want to see the process that I go through when I do my foam carving, because there's several different processes out there. Everyone has their own way of doing things. But if you want to see how I do my foam carving, check out my list of videos I've got on the channel and go back. I think it's back in January. There's a 3-part video series I did on foam carving when I was doing my wall panels. This is the same technique, same method, everything. I'm just doing a prop instead of wall panels. You can go back and watch that, and I go into depth for what bits I use, to my reasons for doing it the way I do it, and the steps I do it and what order I do it in. You can all get it from that vlog. I'm not going to bore everyone with going through it on here again. But did want to say we're officially into foam carving. So hopefully getting the foam carving done today. I also picked up some of my base paint for it, which is white paint. I'm going to go over, everything's going to get a healthy coat of white paint to cover up any lines, ink marks, what have you, before I shoot any color on it. Bought that today because I was out. It's sitting out in the truck. I got to get it in before it cooks out in the truck. But, so we got that, and that's going to be the next step after the carving's done, which may not be till later this week. Let's see how fast we can get this carving done. Well, about the end of the day for me. And it's been the upper 90s, low hundreds today again. About 6:30, almost dinner time here. I'm going to call it quits, head inside. Cool off and do some other things, but I wanted to kind of show you what we've done. I went through and got grout lines done on almost all of it. Got the smaller pieces done that go on the bottom of the big pieces. And I got one big piece done and both of the smaller ones that go on the wall behind. This one, we got to start on it. We'll get it finished tomorrow, and then we can swap over and start doing the bricks, and I'll run you through my thought process and stuff on that in the next segment. But for now, we're making some good progress out here. Was hoping to probably work on the mechanism on this later in the week before I started in on the painting. Don't know if I'm going to make it that far, and I might switch over and just go ahead and start doing the painting too, and do the mechanism and stuff, you know, after everything's done and I'm doing final assembly. I haven't gotten that far yet. Not sure how I'm going to do it. Right now, my main goal is to get everything carved and get the panels attached to their frames. So we got that. With that, I'm going to say good night, and we'll see you tomorrow, or in your case, the next segment. Greetings, salutations. Hello, how are you? Where you been? Where have I been? What am I doing? What are you doing? How are we doing? How are we doing? Either way, another segment for you. It's late afternoon. Got out here, got started, and forgot to grab the camera. Wasn't really any change at the start of the day. I was right where I left off in the last segment. So, got busy out here, showed you that stuff over there yesterday. Got all the grout lines cut, and left you with the other big panel over there needing to get the grout lines finished, even though there wasn't that much to do. I didn't make it all the way through. Well, I got not only the grout lines done, but I got some of the brickwork done. Grout lines were the deepest part of the cut I did on here. So I did those first. Then I went and backed the Dremel bit out to about half the depth and went over the face of the brick. Which leaves the brick on the ring here, the pads for my blocking, and the plaster sitting at face level, which is what I want. They'll kind of stand out more, gives it a little bit more 3D work. Now, am I done with the work on this panel? No, I still got aging to do. But aging gets done after the bricks get done, which means I've got to get those panels done over there. That's my next segment. Now, as far as me being late today with getting started out here, actually came out about 9:30 and got a little bit of work done. I had to stop though because I had another Halloween related item pop up. We're venturing a little bit more into pneumatics this year with the Haunt. At least that was the plan. It depended on how other projects go. Well, my next project I'll be doing after this one is complete here, probably about the first part of September, maybe a little sooner, is I'm going to make a lunging spider, and it's going to be controlled by pneumatics. I went and ordered my pneumatics a couple of weeks back, and the pneumatic cylinder came in finally. So I contacted a friend of mine. He came over this morning. We were discussing patterns and stuff, and I gave him the cylinder, and he's going to be building my mechanism for me. You know, all welded together. We got everything kind of roped out and stuff. So I've got the spider prop officially started, even though I haven't done anything on it other than order parts. My friend's getting the frame welded together, and yes, you'll get to see the frame and everything. I'll probably have the frame back, or the mechanism back, before I have this project done. I'm just going to set it off in the corner, and you'll have to wait till I actually get on the spider project in order to see the mechanism and see it run and everything. But until then, we're going to keep doing our carving on the walls, hoping to get 95% of the carving done today. Well, Good evening. Going on about 9 p.m. I stayed out here and kind of pushed it. We've got all 6 of the panels carved. Everything is finished with the carving, even the short ones. I just got those done. Next step on here is to take my spray bottle of water and my heat gun and go over and get the panels aged. And I'll cover that process, my thought process, and what have you tomorrow. Good day, happy Halloween, happy Hanukkah. Hello all you beautiful people, you scary people, you ugly people, you whatever Halloween salutation you wanna go for it. Hello and welcome to another segment. Today, or actually yesterday, showed you this last segment. We got everything carved and it's ready for aging. And I got one done here with the heat gun and water. I got the other one to do, so you can kind of tell the difference. It does make it look a little bit more natural, you know, more aged look, which is what I was going for. I've got to do this process on all the panels. Now to do the panels, we do water in a spray bottle. And all you do is just simply spray the panel down real good. And I suggest doing it in small sections as you go, because the water does evaporate, especially in 90+ degree heat. Then take your handy heat gun and you just kind of lightly go over each spot, and it will give you that look. What the water ends up doing is if you do a brick that doesn't have water on it, it starts going into looking like that. It just starts melting evenly across. The water helps block some of the heat from going in, and you end up getting a more chewed up look out of it. You know, and that's what I want. You know, and then you use 2 different colors of paint. You already saw the colors I'll be using. I'm going to paint these the same fashion as I did the wall panels for this room. It's in my blacklight room. So these will get the same color parts. Now, if you don't want to do the aging, you know, and you want the bricks, you don't want the bricks looking so rough as they are after they're carved, you can take a sanding block with some sandpaper and just lightly go over it, and it will smooth out some of these ridges. For my purposes, I want the ridges left, because once the heat gun hits them, it does give it a little bit more of an aged look, so I'm leaving them rough to start with. Now, progress for today, main plans are to heat treat all the panels, and I should be able to do that before tech talk tonight. And then I need to get them mounted to the frames. So that's what I'm going to be working on basically today, is just basically heat treating and mounting them to the frames. And if I have time, we'll go on to some other additional steps, and I'll cover those if we get to it. Okay, all you scary people, are we having fun yet? Okay, got everything heat treated. So next step is to mount them to the frame. I got my first one mounted. Now when I measured these panels out originally and cut the foam out before I did any carving, I left them slightly bigger than they needed to be, for the reason being of the heat treatment. When you take that heat gun on, when you start getting near the edges, you need to be real careful, because the foam has a habit of melting weird on the edges, and sometimes you'll get whoop-de-doos in, you know, instead of being straight, it'll curve up and in. And I had a little bit of that on this, so I left it a little bit bigger, so once I got it attached to the frame, I could come back with my wood rasp and just go over the corners and kind of square it up and clean it up a bit, which I've done. Now, to attach it, I decided just to use screws, just like I do on my regular wall panels. And what I'm using is about 1.5 inch long wood screw with 2 plastic washers on them. And those, I've got to say thank you to Rich, aka Ghoulish Cop, from the Dead with Dave crew. One hell of a good home hunter. Does a lot of stuff in paper mache, or he used to. He hasn't posted anything in a while. But I wanted to say thank you to Rich. He built a facade, however you want to call it, facade last year. And with my wall panels I usually use a screw, and let's see, I've got some down here, and a metal washer, you know, and do the same thing as this. Instead of using the plastic ones, I'd use these metal ones. Problem is, get a box of 100 of them, you're looking 10, 15 bucks, sometimes 20 bucks, depending on the size of the fender washer you use. Got really expensive just with the 2 patterns I did. I think I've got probably about 100 bucks just in washers to do 2 of the different patterns I've got. Well, when Rich did his facade, he came up with a way more cheaper and inexpensive way of doing it, and it was these little washers. And what they are is you get them down in Home Depot by the bucket. There's 2,500 of these nails in there, and they're a galvanized nail with these washers on them. And all you do is just take the washer off the nail, and you know, if you don't want to use a nail, you can put them on the screws. You buy a tub of these for like 15 bucks, which I did. This is my second tub full of them. And this did all my new haunt panels. I did 130 wall panels, and 1 bucket of washers enabled me to do all 130, attach them to the frames. Now what I do, the washers are a little bit flimsy, so when you go to tighten them down, they tend to want to crinkle up. I just double them up. I put 2 washers on the screw, and it works just fine. It toughens them up, you know, so they don't crinkle in and flatten, you know, because they're only cheap plastic and they'll bend easy if you let them. But I'm using that, and basically I just put the panel on the frame, kind of lined it up, and went through and secured it with screws. And as you can see the red washers on here. Nice thing is once you get these painted and stuff, they do kind of tend to blend in. So, you know, it's nice for that. So I'll be able to hide the washers and stuff when I go to paint. But that's down the road. We still got quite a bit to do. But anyway, moving on to the mounting phase. We're going to get that done, and then we'll see where we're at from there. Okay, people, not in the shop. I'm out on the patio, sitting, having a cigar and taking a breather. Getting to the point now where I'm about ready to log for the night. Figure I better vlog what I've gotten done. And I think you guys deserve a sneak peek at the project. There we go. All set up. I wanted to put it together, make sure everything was going to line up after I got the skins on, which it did. And I get you back over here. Straight on look. Naturally, I don't have any of the pipes in or the fan blade or anything, but that's the main housing. It's effectively ready for paint. As far as how I got the walls joined, for right now, I cut out 6 braces, and they're just attached to the 2x2s to hold this other wall into place. There's 3 on each side, and they're just kind of screwed in. And I left it, I cut it out so the space between this wall here and the back wall is exactly the foot. The reason why I did 1 foot is I don't know how much room I'm going to need for the fan blade yet, because I don't have the fan blade made and I don't have the mechanism set up for it yet. So I left it at 1 foot. Once I get the fan blade and the mechanism done, I'll probably come down and I will cut these down a bit so this back wall sits closer to the front wall, which will help, because we're noticing if you're looking, you know, I'm kind of like off at an angle, but you look over there, you can see the spacing a little bit. I'm thinking if that back wall is closer, that will be a little less, more or less noticeable. And then wife and I were also talking about that gap. Since it is probably going to be visible, I have 2 options I can do. I can either get more foam out and carve a piece I can just tack up on either side, you know, to hide so they can't see back behind or see that. And I really don't feel like carving any more foam. For some strange reason, I'm getting foamed out. But another thing I was thinking is we have a lot of extra burlap and stuff. I could just hang a piece of burlap there, you know, and just tack it on to the upper support up there. You know, and just let it hang there. You know, and I can probably hit it with my spray gun, you know, with some fluorescent paint to streak it up and stuff so it blends in a little bit more. So that might be an option too down the line, but you know, like as is, that's down the line. People aren't going to be any closer than probably this to it, and it's about 6 feet, 8. No, actually, I'm at about 8 foot, so they'll probably be within 6 to 8 feet of it. So that gap would be noticeable, but that's something I can address later. But anyway, this part of the project's pretty much done. Before I can get into paint, and it's going to be tomorrow's project, I get some plywood out, get the fan blade cut out of some plywood, and then the piping, which is what attaches to the blocks, needs some work done on that too. And then once that's done, this whole thing gets disassembled. We get in the shop and we start adding some color to it. Basically, we'll get the white added on to it, and then next week when I get back into town, we'll start shooting some color on it, and then getting the mech figured out for this too. So I'm not doing the mech this week. The mech will be next week. But we've made some good progress on it, I think. It's been a lot of work. So you guys will probably get one more vlog on this project. We'll have to wait and see how things go tomorrow. But there's no way in heck I'm going to have this finished tomorrow. But you'll get one more look at it, fully set up once it's all painted, the mechanism for the fans in and what have you. The only thing I won't have running will be the fountain on it. That you're going to have to wait till Halloween to see. But other than that, there's your look for today, and we will see you next segment. Good morning all. Welcome to another day. Just getting out here in the shop, cleaning up, moving things around. Got back in the storage locker, got it cleaned up, got my skeletons blocking the doorway again. I went ahead and I pulled out the rest of the parts for the wall. I got to thinking, the fluorescent paint I used on the pipes and bars and stuff last year was the Krylon fluorescent spray paint. And while it did fluoresce, it didn't fluoresce all that good. The stuff I bought from Dick Blick's, I've been using for my wall panels and stuff, is fluoresces a hell of a lot better. So I got to thinking, I've got to paint those walls. I might as well come out here and paint all the piping and stuff, so it all has the same type of paint. So I got back into there, cleaned the mess up in there that I had, and it's still a mess even after I cleaned it up. Pulled out the piping. Also got a sheet of plywood out. Had 2 sheets that we used in the haunt last year for temporary roofing in a couple of areas, and I saved them. And I've got to get my fan blade cut out, and it's going to take roughly a half a sheet of plywood in order to get the fan blade cut out. That was the main reason for getting back there. It was buried clear in the back against the wall as usual, so everything had to be pulled out to get to it. But anyway, my main project for today is getting the fan blade, getting the sheet of plywood cut, and getting it cut into the shape of the fan fan blades I want. I'm just going to do one solid piece instead of doing individual fan blades. Easier to an extent, and just a lot more. To me, I feel a lot more secure having it all one piece instead of individual blades, especially since I'm going to have this thing moving and stuff. Albeit it's not going to be moving that fast, but it's going to be moving, so I'd rather have it all one piece. So we're going to get that cut out today. I got to go over some sandpaper and go over the pipings to kind of clean them up a bit. This pipe here sits up across like that on the wall, and you can tell there's all the hoses or holes on it and a nipple on it. That's my fountain feature. I have a water pump that's actually hooked up to this, and got both ends of the pipe capped, and the tube fills up with water, and water comes out the holes. When I originally did this last year, I was debating on whether just to do a series of holes, you know, for the water to come out, or just do a slice across it, you know, so you got more of a sheet of water instead of a stream of water. And wife and I talked, and we said, well, let's try the hole method. It worked good. We got water out, but we were getting streams of water out, and we ended up not liking it. But by the time we had this hooked up in the haunt, it was too late to fix it. So I've got to get my cutting wheel out, and I'm going to go down that row of holes and cut a slot into it. So we'll have more of a slot type feature, more of a curtain of water coming out instead of streams of water, which is what we want. So I've got to make that alteration too. So I've got the fan blade, I got the cleaning on the pipes, and I got to get a slot cut in that. Once that's done, we are going to move right into the paint end of it. Fun, fun, fun. Probably get base coat on today, and I might even get some of the other colors on today too. I don't know. At least the black for the grout lines. And then next week we'll be getting into detail painting. I've got the green and the red to put on. I've got to yellow the plaster up with some fluorescent yellow. Then the piping and stuff was going to need to get painted. And once all that's done, we'll set this back up out on the patio, and we'll start working on mechanics. But that's all next week. Right now it's fan blading clean. I'm trying to get all the parts done before I start worrying about mechanics. But anyway, that's where it's at now. Oh, and last segment, you got to see this thing set up on the patio. Let me know what you think. I think I mentioned at the end of the segment the spacing I have between the two walls. We weren't exactly sure how much of a gap we were going to need, because I wasn't sure how much room the fan blade was going to take up, and you know, other things. Got to talking to the wife last night. We are going to decrease it. It's not going to be a foot gap between the two walls. It's probably going to be about half that. You know, and that's the way we're thinking right now. I won't know until we go to do final assembly, you know, on the test run out in the patio. Once this project's all the way down, I'll make my final decision there on what the width and everything's going to be. But anyway, I'm going to let you go. I'm going to get to work. Hey, midday update. Got quite a bit accomplished so far. We got the fan blade done, and everything's ready to go. I just need to get my mounting bracket on the back of it, and that's part of the mechanics, which will be next week hopefully. My fountain pipe there was a series of holes all the way down. As I explained in my last segment, we were just getting streams out of it. I went and cut a slot in it instead, so hopefully we'll get more of a curtain of water out of it. And if I have a problem with it, I can get some caulking and just fill that hole, those holes in a little bit, you know, to break it up. Also went through with some sandpaper and went over that pipe and those pipes, kind of scuffed them up, knocked down some of the high areas and stuff on them. And I had, in fact, I think I threw them in the trash. These here, some straps, and this is what I was using to hold the pipes to the wall. Set the pipe up there and just kind of put it around and attach it to the blocking, and that's what held the pipes on. I got to thinking, they're old, they're going to need to be repainted too. Had a nice big box of plumber's tape, so I just cut out 12 new ones. I can base coat those and spray them as well. So we got that, and I think at this point now we are officially into paint. So I think this would probably be a good spot to end the vlog. I'm going to get started base coating everything in a good healthy coat of white, and then hopefully later today I can come back and start working on the grout lines, which will be black. And then Monday when I get back into town from work, we'll come back in here and we'll start the vlog out with the painting, and hopefully by this time next week we'll be doing the mechanics on the wall and have this prop finished. So with that, stay spooky and stay toxic.